We're speaking with Eleanor Snitka, who has worked in the mental health field for a number of years and is currently working with Peer-to-Peer Connections, an organization doing some great work locally to support those living with mental health issues. Welcome to the program, Eleanor. I know you have some great information to share on the state and maybe the adequacy of mental health resources available to us in Manitoba and more locally. But can we start off hearing a bit more about the work you do?
So I'm the community support worker for an organization called Peer-to-Peer Connections. And right now we work under the umbrella of Manitoba Schizophrenia Society. We have a team of 6 people in Dauphin, and 5 of them work in the emergency room. We're just people who've either ourselves or people in our immediate family who've dealt with mental health distress. So if someone comes in and presents with a mental health issue, they can talk to the peer support worker, and this peer support worker will help them to de-escalate and kind of get to know them, have a conversation with them, and kind of it's almost like putting a hook out when they say, I can remember the first time I had to come to the hospital, or I remember when I had to bring my loved one in, or when we went through some kind of an issue. And when people know we've been through the same stuff, but we haven't memorized this from a book, that this is, real stuff to us, they kind of become a little bit more attentive and kind of become a little bit more open too. So that's what's happened now. And so I had the opportunity of applying for the job for the community support worker, and I thought because I had been part of that way back then, I really wanted to see it through. And I should have really been doing my final retirement, I guess, but I thought I'm going to do this pilot project because it really means a lot to me. So that's why I'm here now and what I'm doing now.
Now, you have worked in the mental health field for a number of years, and what can you tell me about your understanding of how good a job our province is doing in providing mental health support?
I think that it's kind of lacking, but I think that we're trying. I think people are really trying. We have really diligent workers out there. I just don't know if we have enough. But I think also it's part of how we present to the public as well. And that's, again, about, there's a whole bunch of stigma out there. And part of that stigma is even healthcare stigma, or stigma that people have because of what they perceive the public or someone thinks about them. So it's a tough baby to crack. It's a tough nut to crack, that's for sure. But I mean, I think we're all trying really hard, and I think that if those of us who kind of work on the ground and can team up with the clinicians and so on, and do a lot of great teamwork, I think that's where we can do some awesome work in mental health in the province. I guess I'm really seeing that now in that we're trying to get away from that disease-specific terminology and just because that's why Manitoba Schizophrenia Society is doing mental health with more people than people who just have schizophrenia. And so I think if we can slowly get away from that disease-specific thing and just let people talk about their distress, I think that's a very positive thing. I think that having self-help organizations, peer support, outreach, and so on has been really good in filling in the cracks between the mental health workers, the psychiatrists, and so on, because it's been, people often have long waiting periods to see their doctors, their mental health workers. And so if they've got those of us who are, working on the ground, that we can be there to be their sort of fillers in the interim, I think that's good. And I know over my years I have and I still do. I run a lot of support groups, which are, so people can come and share with like-minded people or people who are dealing with the same stuff, and feel that they don't have to feel embarrassed or they don't have to feel bad because they're dealing with this stuff, and they're spending time with people who really get it. Who, when they say, "I know what you mean," it's like, "Oh my God, I'm not the only one." So that's a really positive thing, I think.
Eleanor, I think many of us are becoming more aware of the mental health strain the pandemic is having on us all. What kind of things jump out to you as being a challenge to mental health during the pandemic?
I think people are, basically we're all fearful, we're all worried, we're all stressed. And when people already have got some pre-occurring issues with mental health, it just exaggerates it. It just makes it bigger, So people are scared. They hear stuff on the news. And then they hear conflicting stuff. People say it's a hoax, and then so many of the rest of us are so scared, and they don't know where to think. And a lot of these people who already have mental health issues maybe tend to self-isolate as it is. And now when they're kind of told you can't go out or you can't go to certain places, they become really recluse. And I know in talking to, for example, one of the women who works at the Echo Apartments for CMHA has said that I'm going to start working with some of them, but has said some of her tenants are just afraid to leave their apartments because of this fear of the unknown. And I know even for myself that anxiety of uncertainty. I'm a pretty laid back person, but I need to know when something begins and something ends. And that's not the way with this pandemic. We don't know when it's ending. And so for myself, I really feel that. And I think for other people too, they just want to know when I can go out with my friends, when I can go back to work, or when I can, what am I going to do if I have to send my kids to school, or if I can't send them to school, and the financial stuff. And then I think when all of these burdens, and on top of their pre-occurring mental health stuff, and then the financial stuff happens, and so then oftentimes people cope in maybe inappropriate ways with substance abuse or, some sort of addictions and so on. It just becomes a big snowball.
Eleanor, I want to ask you what kind of mental health supports and resources are available to Manitobans and Parklanders, and what are some suggestions you can offer us about how someone can take action and take advantage of opportunities to manage and improve their own mental health?
That's the hard part now is most times people can't get to see their family doctors. So to get a referral to see somebody in the mental health field can be difficult as well. But I guess if they do have a mental health worker, to be able to phone them, I know that I'm always available to do peer support. And my peer support is done. I work out of my home, so I don't have a real office except a little old bedroom that used to be. But I talk to people on the telephone. I meet them for coffee. I meet them wherever both of us feel safe. So that might be just meeting them to talk about what's going on in their life, to let them know what's going on, what they can do. Maybe if they can't work right now, maybe volunteering if there's space for a few people. There's always the food bank that they might have to access for food, but sometimes there's volunteering that can take place there to make them feel they have a bit of purpose. Also, the clothing depot at the food bank or in the Parkland crossings. Parkland crossings have a lot of awesome stuff going on for people to get a hold of Jamie Harvey there and let them. I just took a person on a tour the other day, and it's a pretty amazing place that they've got going there. If people like pets, the Humane Society is often looking for people, and that way they're getting exercise. Pets are non-judgmental, so they're great for people who are going through times when their own self-confidence isn't that great. So maybe, going and looking, feeding the dogs or taking them for a walk. Going for a walk in Wednesday is free walking at the Dauphin Clinic Pharmacy, walking at the arena. Can go for walks while the weather's still good in Vermilion Park. Because I think for myself, because I live with seasonal affective disorder, I have to really get on the vitamin D in the winter and get lots of fresh air and sunshine. So trying to do things outside is really important. Growing a plant, making ourselves feel helpful by nourishing something, so we're feeling worthwhile. Music and art, those kind of things can be very, very therapeutic. And trying to get out to talk to some people, to have some sort of connection with people, because connection, and that's what we're all about with our peer support. It's all about acceptance, respect, connection. And so if people feel that they belong somewhere, I think that can have a big deal with helping with their mental health issues. Reach out for help. It's okay to admit it. And I think more people than not have some issue that they have to deal with. They can call me at 431-345-0353 or at eleanor@mss.mb.ca.